Good morning and welcome to an episode of Meet the Makers here on Block News. My name is Rebecca Hope and today we are interviewing Asjad Majeed from the company Yamzu, the CEO and founder. Welcome, Asjad.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's good to have you here. Let us know more about your technology Yamzu and what you guys are doing in the world of gaming and competing.
Esports is something that's growing today. It is one of the hottest tech sectors. It's competitive video gaming. And we founded our company in 2016. And basically, it's an online-based platform where gamers can create events or join events and they compete against each other. We have a good and healthy user base. We have a good and healthy growth. And we have used Yamzu points so far that people can buy for fiat money. So having a token, that is the next logical step, because then they can compete for something that's easier for them to trade and withdraw and so on.
So you have a growing platform where users can log in and they can compete against each other on a game called Counter-Strike, which is already a massive game with 50 million users, I believe.
Something like that. A League of Legends that have an installed base of 250 million. It is basically all of Europe's population, more or less.
Everyone in Europe is using it. Okay, so you log in and then you start competing against each other. So at the moment, what is the model with Yamzu?
Well, basically is we want to use the token so we make it easier, because one of the things that makes us unique is with our ICOs, we actually have customers and we have users. This is not something that we're going to implement in the future. And when people compete, withdrawing, depositing money, as we have systems today like Visa cards, credit card payments, and PayPal, but it is not as flexible as having a token where the transaction can be really fast, the withdrawal can happen very fast, and the deposit can also happen very fast. So it is a very important thing to have for our gamers because they're fast, they want it to happen at the moment, and they want it to work. So having a token model, it is secure, and also you can't cheat, you can't hassle a token, you can't fake it. It's basically unbreakable.
Okay, so when you say that you actually have something up and running, let's talk about that. So you launched in 2016 and you have a growing user base and revenue. So your user base is growing at 100% per year, and your revenue, how's that growing?
That is growing with around 300% per year.
Okay.
So to put it in exact terms, in 2016, we had gamers playing for an equivalent of 800,000 euros. In 2017, we had gamers playing for an equivalent of 270,000, 2.5 million. So it is growing very rapidly. And once again, it is a feature that is logical. We just give them the freedom and an easy way to do it. Competitiveness, we have always had it as human beings.
Yes, that's true. So that was a little bit hard for me to understand, is who goes online and competes against each other on arbitrary sports, but it is a huge thing. It's a huge industry, and as you said, we are competitive in our nature, so it will always be something that people want to do. So let's talk about how your model is currently structured. So somebody logs in, they create a profile, and then they go ahead and start competing. They buy points. That's
exactly. We have two games that are integrated, Counter-Strike and League of Legends. Mm-hmm. And what they do is they add their account, their game account, and then they can start competing. And the way it works is we give the gamers the absolute freedom. So they could compete for free. They could compete for Yamzu points. They could create a tournament with 16 teams. They can play 5 versus 5. They can play 1 versus 1. So they have all the freedom to do everything.
Many options to compete. Okay,
yes.
And now, so you've actually essentially, blockchain is perfect for your technology because you've already been essentially using it in a point system, and now you're just integrating it with tokens. Is that right?
Exactly. And we have already hit the soft cap because what we did is we just went out to our community that's already using it, and to put it in layman's terms, it's just flipping a switch. Instead of Yamzu points, it's going to be Yamzu tokens.
Yeah.
And they have used it for a long time. They're familiar with it, and we were able to hit the soft cap, which is really fantastic.
Yeah. So how did you grow that user base so quickly in just 2 years?
Well, it was a lots of trial and error because many tech companies often get led into the hype of having users but not having actual active users, and we didn't want to fall into that trap. So we focused very early on getting a good funnel, because we don't want people only registering on the website. We want people to be active, to use it, to give us feedback, and so on. And it took a lots of trial and error to get to where we are today. And it's a lot of sweat equity, which is both good and bad. Being run and owned by the founders gives us a lots of freedom. And also it holds us responsible. We need to deliver a product. We can't BS our way to so-called fake numbers or something like that.
Yes.
We actually need to deliver a value to the customer. And that makes it a lot easier, because then we always have to come up with a solution that works.
Well, I like the fact that you've already established that sales funnel, and a lot of people are not conscious of. They focus so much on the technology and they forget about the actual marketing, and that there really requires some extensive and deep strategy thinking behind that. So let's talk about why you're running the ICO and what you plan on doing with those funds.
Well, the reason we are running it, obviously, is we need the funds to develop the smart contract, the token, and so on. And most importantly, the majority of the funds that's going to come in is going to be used for the token and scaling up what works. And this is why some of our investors that are not gamers love is what works now, we're going to scale up. So it's not hypothetical. It's not going to be ready in 2 years. It is up and working. So we're going to scale up what's working. And it is also very important to have a huge market for the tokens so our gamers can access it. Like I said, if we take a game such as Counter-Strike, for example, I know you're not familiar with it, but they had revenues of 250 million euros last year. League of Legends had revenues, I believe, of over $1.5 billion. So the market is enormous and it is already there. So we need to establish a system so it is accessible for them.
What kind of market share are you looking at achieving?
Well, there is no company that dominates it today. Because it is still a growing industry. What we have excelled at is the fact active user per sign-up ratio, which we think is very important. For example, we have roughly our gamers play for around 20 euros per user and year. Revenue, that's our fee. They play for 10 times as much because our fee is 10%. And that is very unique for the business. We were profitable in our first year. Last year we lost 3% because we pushed a little bit extra. It's a common in the industry that companies lose 30 to 40 cents per dollar. But once again, it's because they're pushing for the volumes. And we took a different path. This is a service. It's like Netflix. You need to deliver quality so people pay and subscribe. It's not Facebook where you get the volume, then you advertise to it.
I like that strategy.
Of course.
So you focus very much on substance, on giving something of substance to your users.
Exactly. That became very clear at an early stage. We are gifted with great talent in Sweden, technology, esport, video game market, but we don't have such a healthy venture capitalism culture here, not compared to the US. So we had to make the decision that if we're going to make our money, it had to come from the customers. So we had no choice but to do something that actually adds value to the customer.
Well, I think that's going to pay off in the long run now, especially. Because
Absolutely. It was tough in the beginning. We are where we are. I mean, we started an ICO. Even in this bear market, we hit our soft cap. That is very rare. And when people talk to us often, they get so shocked because we get the question, so when will your platform be ready? No, it had been ready for 2.5 years. Just go in, play, check it out. We just got to do the tokens. And that is very disruptive in this industry. There are very few companies that are active, up and running, and even fewer that have an actual implementation of the tokens. So we are blessed in that way.
Yes. So is that your focus for now? Is just to mainly scale up and then to integrate the smart contract and the tokens?
That is correct. And also widen, because our engine, we could integrate almost any PC or any mobile game. So the potential is limitless.
Okay, and then let's talk about your team. So who's all on the team?
All right. Well, we have me and Christian, that is the co-founder, and he is the tech guy, our CTO. And above that, we have Jovan and Marcus, who works with the community, that have been with us since the beginning. And then we have been expanding the team more and more. Our chief operating officer, which is my friend from the military, he runs his own esports team. We brought in lots of marketing experts, and we widen our advisor network. We have everything from Alan, who's a professor in digital marketing, to Mauro, who's a professional professor in corporate finance, to more seasoned ICO advisors such as Alexander and Daniel. So in diversity, creativity thrives. So we need to be as diversified as possible.
Great. And then are there any other benefits that it's going to have integrating a blockchain system technology in your system?
Yes, actually, by having a token and having a blockchain, it eliminates the cheating. This is one of the biggest things that plague the gaming industry: cheating, trickery, stealing money, and so on. Everything that have digital transactions, there's always something. And with blockchain, we basically eliminate that risk, because as well as you can't cheat the blockchain system because it's spread everywhere. So it creates that secure environment also, and it also gives us a little bit of control, because we are very keen on our culture. This is one of the reasons why we have such an active community. We don't allow toxic environment for anyone.
It seems to be the right time that blockchain's now, coming up, and it's the new trend. So for you, it's not just a trend; it actually is going to work. So tell us a little bit about your short-term goals here. Is it mainly to hit your hard cap, or what's the short-term goal?
The short-term goal is obviously we want to hit the hard cap, but that's not the main goal. Now that we have hit the soft cap, we are looking at different exchanges, and we are also looking to widen our install base. Right now we have product users that have invested, which is fantastic, but we also need diversity. We need more investors from the traditional ICO community, and also we started working and implementing everything so it is ready. So hopefully we can finish the ICO before the end of the year and keep on the time schedule and just launch it.
Mm-hmm. Well, one thing I can say is it's really great that you guys have that sales funnel already kind of filtered through, because lots of people are running these massive goals for their hard caps and don't really know how they're going to allocate their marketing budget. So I think that makes you really unique in this field. Let's talk about your users at the moment. Which countries are you seeing being the most popular?
We have actually users from 20 countries, so it is not limited to geographic location. Most of them are European, overwhelming Scandinavian. We have lots of female users, because we focus a lot on, once again, the toxicity. This is very important for our users. As you know, on social media, you can say and do whatever you want, more or less. And we have been very strict on that to create an environment that is welcoming, because the reason you play games, even if you don't play it much, you understand it's for the fun of it. So it needs to be an environment where it is fun. So our users, it's a huge diversity. It is often people that are mentally mature, because if you are a toxic individual, spread these things, you get banned for life, so they never come back to the platform, and we make sure they don't come back. Mm-hmm. So it is a widespread. We have everything from 14-year-old guys in Finland to 25-year-old teams in Germany. It is girl teams. It is a huge variety.
Wow. So let's talk about the actual token. What kind of token is it going to be?
It's going to be an ERC20 token. This might not sound as sexy as something that's going to disrupt the industry. On the other hand, this is actually something that works, and we have customers, so I don't need to oversell it.
It's really interesting, the story of your story, how you started in economics, studying economics, and then moving on to marketing, hence why you have such a good marketing strategy there. And then having met up with your friend, how did this all start with that friend of yours in the armed forces?
Yeah, Matthias, our chief operating officer, he was a competitive Counter-Strike gamer, and we talked a lot. And I play video games not on his level, I just play it as a spare time thing. And he talked about there was no platform where people could become professionals. Mm-hmm. So everyone, you either belong to the high tier or you're just an amateur. And when we talk about Counter-Strike, we have 40 million players, 40 million plus. roughly there are 5,000 professionals, which is nothing. I mean, it's even more narrow than elite sport. And so when we talked, we talked a little bit about the ID and we tried to figure it out. And I talked to Christian, my friend, who is the CTO. And I still remember his words, like, this is what we're doing. We're going to do a platform. And he just said, Asiad, I got this. And I said, what do you mean? No, don't worry, I got this. And like 2 months later, he gave me the alpha build. And then it took us 1 year to polish it completely. And the rest is history. It was...
That's amazing.
Yes.
So great. Such a great story that you have. Thank you so much for chatting with us today, Asiad. Can you direct us to your website, please?
Yes, that's Yamzu. That's Yankee Alpha Mike Zulu Utah.io.
Perfect.
And there we have the links to the main site, yamzu.com, where you can play.
Thank you so much for chatting to us today, Asiad.
Thank you so much. It has been a pleasure.
We're talking to Asiad Majeed from Yamzu. My name is Rebecca Hope from Block News, and this is an episode of Meet the Makers.